Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition Series where I preview and predict every men's college basketball conference tournament. Now we're going to get into the bigger tournaments here. And this one is a big one. It's the ACC, which is going to be the, 13th of 32. Let's just count. So we did NEC, A-Sun, Horizon, Patriot, Big South, OVC, MVC, Sunbelt, West Coast, SoCon, CAA, Summit, and AEC. So we're at 14 now. So we're at a big one, the ACC. This is going to be a lot of fun. 15 teams. And it's going to be, I think, a very entertaining tournament as it is each and every year. And it all begins Tuesday, March 8th from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. So the seeding. Your 1 seed is Duke, who's number 4 in the country, 26-5 on the season, 16-4 in conference play. Your 2 seed is Notre Dame, 22-9 on the year, 15-5 in conference play. Your 3 seed is North Carolina, 23-8 on the year, 15-5 in conference play. Your 4 seed is Miami, 22-9 on the year, 14-6 in conference play. Your 5 seed is Wake Forest, 23-8 on the year, 13-7 in conference play. Your 6 seed is Virginia, 18-12 on the year, 12-8 in conference play. Your 7 seed is Virginia Tech, 19-12 on the year, 11-9 in conference play. Your 8 seed is Florida State, 17-13 on the year, 10-10 in conference play. Your 9 seed is Syracuse, 15-16 on the year, 9-11 in conference play. Your 10 seed is Clemson, 16-15 on the year, 8-12 in conference play. Your 10 seed is Clemson, 16-15 on the year, 8-12 in conference play. Your 11 seed is Louisville, 12-18 on the year, 6-14 in conference play. Your 12 seed is Boston College, 11-19 on the year, 6-14 in conference play. Your 13 seed is Pitt, 11-20 on the year, 6-14 in conference play. Your 14 seed is Georgia Tech, 12-19 on the year, 5-15 in conference play. And your 15 seed is NC State, 11-20 on the year, 4-16 in conference play. So let's get to it. First round, Tuesday, March 8th, 2 o'clock Eastern. 13 seed Boston College, 12 seed Pitt. So BC this year, they're not very good. 3 guys in double-digit points per game, led by somebody by the name of Ashton Langford. What's his first name? Mackay Ashton Langford with 12.1 points per game. And Pitt, usually a doormat in this conference over the last several years. BC. Pitt probably has the best player on the court in this game in John Hughley, averaging 14.7 points per game. And even the second best player on the court in Jamarius Burton with 12.5 per game. I project Pitt by 1/8, total 132.5. Therefore, I have Pitt advancing. Second of 3 first-round games, 15 seed NC State and 10 seed Clemson. NC State probably the most disappointing team in the ACC this year because they finished in last, and you wouldn't have thought that. But they have a really good score in Darion Seaborn, 17.3 points per game, and Terquefion Smith at 16.5 per game, and Jericho Helms at 13.7 points per game. They have a big 3, which is good. And Clemson, they're just mediocre year after year, it seems like. And they're led by P.J. Hall, 15.4 points per game. And amazingly enough, Brad Brownwell is still there. How is he still their coach? I wouldn't be shocked if he's fired at the end of the season. I project Clemson by 3.25, total 144.6. So therefore, I have Clemson advancing, although Clemson will probably be a bigger favorite than that. But I do think that will be a close game. And the last of 3 first-round games, 14 seed Georgia Tech and 11 seed Louisville. Georgia Tech, they're sometimes good, sometimes not. Josh Pastner's still there. They're led by Michael DeVoe at 18 a game. And their other double-digit scorers, Jordan Usher, 14.6 points per game. Very disappointing year for Louisville. You could argue them for ACC's biggest disappointment. From a blue blood, absolutely, they're the biggest disappointment in the ACC, but NC State has to be up there too. There's a couple other schools. Florida State, we'll get to them. Chris Mack left mid-year. They have no double-digit point-per-game scorers, which is insane to me. Their leading scorer is Noah Locke at 9.5 per game. My projection for them is Louisville by 1 7/8 total, 138 and 5/100. So therefore, I have Louisville advancing, but they're going to be a bigger favorite than that, so I could bet on Georgia Tech. Second round, Wednesday, March 9th. 9 seed Syracuse, 8 seed Florida State. Disappointing year for Syracuse. Finished under 500. Buddy Boeheim, 19.3 points per game. And they have 4 other guys in double-digit scoring per game, including Jimmy Boeheim and Joe Girard III. And Florida State, disappointing year for them too, relative to preseason expectations. Leonard Hamilton teams are normally better than this. Their leading scorer is Caleb Mills at 13 a game. They have 3 other guys in double-digit points per game, including Matthew Cleveland, Anthony Polite, and Malik Osborne, who was injured this season. That was a big loss for them. Projection, Florida State by 3 3/8, total 147.25. This is the last of the totals projections here because, like I always say in these podcasts, it's hard to project totals that are seen into the future, but it's easier to project lines. So therefore, I have Florida State advancing. Second of 4 second-round games. 12 seed Pitt, 5 seed Wake Forest. Wake Forest, one of the bigger surprises in the ACC this season. I'm talking about all the disappointments. There's always a surprise or two, and Wake is certainly one of them. Led by Alondez Williams with his 19.3 points per game. My projection is Wake by 9 1/8. Therefore, I have Wake advancing. Third of 4 second-round games. 10 seed Clemson, 7 seed Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's been decent this year. Mike Young's doing a good job. 3 guys in double-digit points per game. Led by Keve Alma at 15.4 points per game. Projection is Vatech by 4 3/8. Therefore, I have Vatech advancing. And the last of the second-round games, 11 seed Louisville, 6 seed Virginia. That game is somehow on ESPN too. You would have thought that game would have been on ESPN because that's 2 blue bloods, and they tend to give favoritism towards Louisville, but they didn't. So my projection is Virginia by 5 3/8, and this isn't your typical Virginia team. Virginia, to me, was a little bit disappointing. They're usually better than this. Led by Jaden Gardner at 15.2 points per game, and their other 2 double-digit scorers, Armand Franklin and Kai Clark. So Virginia should advance past Louisville. On to the quarterfinals. Thursday, March 10th, 8 seed Florida State, 1 seed Duke. Duke's amazing. They're the best team in the conference easily. They should be among the favorites to win the national championship. And wouldn't it only be fitting for Duke to win the national title in Coach K's last season? Like, that's how it has to end, right? It just has to end like that. Like, that's just fairy tale type of stuff right there. And their leading scorer is someone that I think is going to be in play for the number 1 overall pick in the draft with Paolo Banchero at 17.1 points per game. And they have 4 other guys averaging double figures per game. Wendell Moore Jr., who I feel like has been around for a minute now, at 13.1 points per game. Trevor Keels at 12.3 points per game. Mark Williams, the big man, 11 a game. And A.J. Griffin at 10.3 points per game. So Duke is a team that likes to play somewhat big, and they would have to put one of the wings at the shooting guard position. And I project Duke by 6.5 over Florida State, so therefore I have Duke advancing to the semis. 5 seed Wake Forest and 4 seed Miami. Miami got hot late in the year to get the 4 seed. They're going to make the tournament. They have 3 guys in double-digit scoring points per game. Cameron McGrusty leads the way, 17.5 points per game. And then they have Isaiah Wong at 15.5 a game and Charlie Moore at 12.5 per game. My projection is Miami by 7/8, so Miami should advance to the semifinals. Although I think Wake has had an amazing year. Wake will be in the tournament. Williams is probably the best player in this game, but I think Miami is just the better team. And I trust Jim Larinaga more than Steve Forbes. But Steve Forbes has to be in the conversation for ACC Coach of the Year for me, if not the front runner. 7 seed Virginia Tech and 2 seed Notre Dame. Notre Dame, really a great year for them. People consider them a surprise this year, but Notre Dame tends to be a contender most of the time, and Mike Bray's amazing. You shouldn't be doubting Mike Bray's teams. Despite not having Paul Atkinson Jr. for the season pretty much, they really have overcome that with 3 guys averaging double figures per game. Blake Wesley at 14.8, Dane Goodwin at 14, and Paul Atkinson Jr. at 12.6. Projection 1 3/8. So therefore I have Notre Dame advancing to the semifinals over Virginia Tech, who I think will probably make the tournament. And then the last of 4 quarterfinal games, 6 seed Virginia, 3 seed North Carolina. Great game. UNC's a great team. They've come along, knocking off Duke. Led by Armando Bacot at 16.6 points per game. And then they have Caleb Love at 15.7. Brady Manick at 14.4. And RJ Davis at 13.6. And Hubert Davis, I think, has proved to be a good replacement so far for Roy Williams. So, good on Carolina for that hire. And I project Carolina here by 3.5. And I just think that Carolina has a lot of guys that have been there and done that. And Notre Dame's had a great year, obviously. They'll be in the tournament. So, like I said, Carolina I project by 3.25. So, therefore, I set up a rematch of Saturday's showdown in the championship game between 3 seed North Carolina and 1 seed Duke. This is what everybody wants. This is what ESPN's rooting for. Part 3 this year. You think that it's going to be a classic because these games are always classic. It's the best rivalry in college basketball. It isn't even close. You have Boncharo leading the way for Duke on one side, and you have Bacot leading the way on the other. This is probably going to be Coach K's last game against North Carolina if it wasn't on Saturday. And for this game, I project Duke by 3.25. So therefore, in Mike Krzyzewski's final season, I have the Duke Blue Devils winning the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament. And they will be the auto bid and in play for a 1 seed in the tournament. So teams that I think are going to be at larges here: Notre Dame, North Carolina, Miami, Wake, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. If there's a bid stealer in the field, it'll probably be Florida State. If I had to make a pick for a bid stealer. Potentially. And now I'm going to go to the odds on FanDuel for this tournament. Duke's a minus 130 favorite. That's amazing. Wake and Notre Dame are 9-1. North Carolina's plus 950. Va-Tech's 11-1. Miami is 12-1. Virginia 17-1. Syracuse, Florida State are 50. Louisville and Clemson are 90. NC State's 120, Georgia Tech's 130, and Pitt's 200, and BC's 200. So if I had to pick a long shot to win this conference tournament, I'm going to go with the team that has been there and done that. They have a coach that excels in big games like this for the most part. There's been times where his teams have not lived up to expectations, but that was back when this program really broke through, and that is the Virginia Cavaliers at 17-1. If I had to pick a long shot, it's Virginia because I just like the value. I think Virginia should be more like 12-1. I think Gardner's an amazing player. He's a senior. Virginia's just been very quiet this year, and they haven't had a moment yet. So if I had to pick a long shot to win this tournament, it's Virginia. But I do think Duke will win, and I think they should be... I honestly think they are a little bit overvalued at minus 130. I think they should be even money. I think Carolina should be like 5-1. Notre Dame should be like 7. I think Wake's at the right number. So it should be a really fun tournament. And I think it'd only be fitting if Coach K and Duke were to win this tournament in Coach K's final season. Alrighty, so the next tournament that we will preview and predict will be the Big West tournament.